Allie, you ready?
We're
for
ready.
me? Okay, very good. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Laura Terhune, CEO of the Midlothian Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to our 2020 Legislative Lunch Series. Well, it's a little after lunch, isn't it? Our Legislative Committee has worked hard to create informative sessions this year that highlight the county, state, and national issues. We're glad you're here with us today, or you're watching online during the event or afterwards. This event would not be possible without our series presenting sponsors, who are First Financial Bank, Linebarger Law Firm, Access Self-Storage, and Wholesome Lafarge right here in town. Thank you very much to all these guys. We would also like to thank our corporate sponsors, that is Baylor Scott & White of Waxahachie, Omega Software, and Atmos Energy. At this time, I would like to ask Kevin Chester, who represents Linebarger Law Firm, to please introduce our speaker today. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Laura. Good afternoon, everyone. Our speaker today is Ellis County Judge Todd Little. Todd is a lifelong resident of Ellis County. He's a graduate of Red Oak High School, the Mighty Fighting Hawk School. He's also a graduate of Baylor University. He's been a community activist for a number of years. He served as president of the board of the Hope Clinic. He served on the board of directors of Meals on Wheels of Johnson and Ellis County, and then he also served as mayor of Red Oak for 6 years from 2000 to 2006. He's a local businessman. His family has owned and operated for years in the Red Oak area an insurance agency as well as a real estate development company. He's a devout Christian and a family man. He's married to Dawn, his wife, many years, and they have 3 children who are young adults. I've known Todd for nearly 20 years, and he's one of the most upbeat individuals that I've ever met. He tackles challenges. Matter of fact, I think he just loves to tackle a challenge, to take it head on and find a solution. And of course, that's what he's doing now as county judge. I would characterize Todd as being a compassionate conservative. And with that, I'll turn it over to my good friend and our county judge, Todd Little.
Well, Kevin, thank you for that special introduction. And it always makes it nice when the guy introducing you is you can call him a good friend. And we've known each other for quite some time now. And I just appreciate our friendship and the time that we get to spend together, and the work we get to do together for Ellis County. And Laura, I think, is the sound doing well? Everything's good, the video? Okay. So I want to thank the Midlothian Chamber for inviting me as a guest to the legislative series. What we do here in county government is very important, and hopefully that we stay out of your lives until you need us in your life, until you need the court system, you need the assistant district attorney's assistance, or you need the commissioner to come and fix your driveway at the new county road. Hopefully we stay out of your way until we need to be right there as a partner. And that's our objective, is to run the government professionally and get the job done that you asked us to do when you elected us and appointed us to these spots. I want to thank everybody for inviting me today. I feel honored to be on a list, which includes the infamous conservative Ron Wright, and our existing state representative John Ray, and our incoming state representative Jake Elsey. Thank you. Laura, y'all are doing great work over there at the Chamber of Commerce, and I think that will be evident in some of my information that we share today. Let's start with, you guys can see my slides, hopefully. As it's been about a year since I was with you guys at the last legislative series, and little did we know what challenges and what things would be coming at us this year, right? It's been a year. It's been one of those years to remember. I'm going to go ahead and move my mouse down. Make sure, there we go. It's been a year to remember in 2020, a time of accomplishment and uncertainty. January 28th, we were in the process of moving forward on our political promises and our political agenda for Ellis County to keep Ellis County one of the most conservative counties in the state of Texas. January 28th, Ellis County declared that it was a sanctuary for the unborn. We did not just do a resolution, but we put our money where our heart is. Our heart is to protect the women and the children of Ellis County, as well as the unborn. So we entered into a contract for the first time ever with the Crisis Pregnancy Center called First Look. Excuse me. First Look, we provide them every year now going forward, $30,000 a year to implement the process of prenatal, during pregnancy care, counseling for the husband and the wife. That includes postnatal care if the baby is delivered, and also that includes the cost of sonograms for women that might not have access to a sonogram before they make the choice on whether they're going to keep or whether they're going to terminate that pregnancy. So we feel it's important to provide tools, and we know that your tax dollars, when we provide those tools towards emotional and physical support of families and women and children, we know that that is going to improve the health of our society here in Ellis County. So little did we know, within about 6 weeks, actually 2 weeks after or a week after we did the declaration, the President of the United States did a halted travel from anywhere in China to the United States. That was the January 31st. So that was kind of the beginning that was when I started to pay attention to what is COVID? What is this COVID thing? And as you know, from January 31 to March 1, we were getting all kinds of crazy, scary estimates that we could lose up to 2 to 3 million Americans if this did come abroad from China over to the States. I believe one of our first cases was in New York City, and I know one of our first cases was also from Vail, Colorado, when a Frenchman was snow skiing in Vail, and he reported to a Denver hospital, and I believe we had a case that flew in from Wuhan into Seattle. So those 2 or 3 cases were what we figured out from the East Coast to the West Coast, that this COVID thing would probably come into Texas because of the way we travel, the way the world moves around. So with about 10,000 kids on spring break, another 4,000 or 5,000 teachers, no, 2,000 teachers in the districts in Ellis County, we decided that it was in our best interest to give the superintendents what they needed on March 17th was a disaster declaration here in Ellis County. So we were able to postpone the return of kids to the class and teachers to the class. That happened on Wednesday, March 17th. They arrived back to town on Friday, the 19th or 20th, and we were able to postpone school for that next week. After that next week, we learned a lot, and on the 24th of March, the County Commissioners Court extended the stay-at-home, stay-safe order from March 24th through about April 30th. It was a very challenging time for us because there were certain businesses that were declared by the governor to be essential, and the other businesses that were not declared essential were shut down for a temporary basis. Basically, those businesses that were determined to be a necessity. Now, since that has happened, we've had lots of more time to think about it. The governor has amended his order almost like 28 times, and literally that essential business list has expanded and expanded and expanded. As we stand right now, if you are a bar and you have 51% of your bar is not food revenue, it is alcohol, and you are currently closed under the governor's order. So restaurants are still operating at 50%. And with that being said, July 14th, the Ellis County Commissioners Court received $3.4 million from the federal government through the Coronavirus CARES Act Relief Fund. And actually, it would have been more like May 30th when we approved that. But I'll move on down here. So the whole job for us is to continue doing our day-to-day work while we also try to manage this epidemic here locally, and try to mitigate the spread in Ellis County as much as possible, and keep our citizens that are most vulnerable safe, and our healthcare workers safe from the people that they treat. So we'll move on to the next slide. Currently, Ellis County is on the Council of Governments, is listed at 197,780. As we talked last year, Ellis County was about 40,000 people in 1960, and here we are in 2020. We're going to go over 200,000 probably by the time the new census hits next June or July. If you look at our unemployment claims, we currently have 1,631 individuals that are unemployed. That is the lowest unemployment percentage of neighboring counties in our neighboring counties, and that is inclusive of a 14-county area, and that is provided to us by the Texas Workforce Solutions, which is a division of the COG, the Council of Governments. COVID-19 effect, meeting the needs. You will see here at the county government level, we have had unexpected expenses that have accumulated by all of our Ellis County jurisdictions of $1,340,000. The expenses currently accumulated in Ellis County is $535,584. These expenses are direct expenses that our county government has experienced directly due to managing the virus. That would be cleaning our facilities. That would be hand sanitization for our courtrooms. That would be added janitorial cost for cleaning those facilities on a daily basis. For example, we entered into a WebEx system back in March with the emergency. We've done over 1,500 case hearings since about May 1 here in Ellis County. However, as you know, jury trials have been suspended all the way through the 1st of October via the Supreme Court of the state of Texas. So you probably heard some of the president's executive order that he issued on Saturday. He is extending the evictions from August 31 all the way through the end of the year, December 31. So there will be no evictions for landlords between now and December 31. And the president has assured us all that they're going to be working with lenders, with mortgage company, and those folks that lend money to make sure that they are good if they are not receiving those rent checks from tenants. I think he's in a tough situation because while trying to stimulate the economy and mitigate the spread of the virus, he's also on the heels of an election. And as you know, the homeless population could rise very quickly if people were evicted from their rental property. A report I saw last week was 23 million Americans were unsure or not confident that they could make their rent payment by the middle of August. So when you look at 23 to 25 million Americans not being able to pay rent in the current month, that is a lot of people that could be evicted. And you can understand the seriousness of that nature. So these expenses that we've spent here locally in the county, we should be reimbursed for dollar. Whether we will either get credit for it through FEMA, which is the Federal Emergency Management Administration, or we will get credit and apply the $3.4 million that we received from the federal government under the CARES Act against these funds. We have already received that money and begun spending that. For example, the WebEx system that we purchased and the ongoing support, that cost the county $150,000. I want to give credit to the sheriff where credit is due. The sheriff was willing to utilize his drug forfeiture funds to assist us in that effort. So basically from funds that have been used for a negative purpose or for a criminal activity, we were able to purchase that system 100%. And whatever funds we do reimburse, we will reimburse the Sheriff's Department for those funds once we receive them. So we thank Sheriff Edge for that. Let's move on to the next slide here. As you know, you've heard a lot about COVID as it relates to maintaining adequate hospital capacity. Currently, you will see if we go back to August 4th on this slide, we have a hospital capacity in Ellis County, bed count of 215 beds. And you can see from August 4th, we've gone from 122, 125 to 130 to 134, and back down to 120, and then back up to 131 as of yesterday. We reported this morning, we have 18 ICU beds in the county. And if I'm not mistaken, 15 of those ICU beds are being used. 9 of the 15 ICU beds are coronavirus patients. So there are 4 other beds that are not coronavirus patients. I think there's a lot of controversy in the reporting as far as the numbers that we actually receive from the Department of State Health Services and the Texas Health Trace. So that is a situation where we are reporting both numbers for you as citizens, so you can see kind of what the highs and lows are each day. We've had anywhere between 27 and 41 actual COVID deaths in Ellis County. We do not know which number is absolutely correct. So I think it's important that you as citizens know it's either 27, it's either 41, or somewhere in between. A lot of those cases that have passed away were in the nursing homes, and they were what we call the vulnerable population. And they may have had some comorbidities, which are pre-existing conditions that would have affected their death, but they have been registered as a COVID-related death. So our hospital data is gathered from Baylor Scott and White, Waxahachie, and Ennis Regional. And over in Midlothian, we've been including Jeremy Taylor in those calls, as I know he's working hard to get the Midlothian Methodist Medical Center open. We're looking forward to that. And I watched that building coming up. It's looking beautiful. And the city fathers did a great job. And I know Methodist has committed a lot of investment into the Midlothian economy. So we're looking forward to getting more beds to handle the growth in population and the medical need here in Ellis County. So we'll move on to the next slide. It's very neat that people see what's going on in Ellis County, even at the state level. I received a call about 4 weeks ago from the Department of State Health Services. They said, Judge, you guys are doing as good a job as any suburban county in the state of Texas. So we are going to enter into a partnership with you. And the partnership is we're going to be hosting drive-through testing for Ellis County residents. He said, you're going to be the only county that gets this program that's outside of the major metropolitan area. I said, Dr. Massey, we would be glad to help with that effort and participate. So what you have here is an example of good teamwork, good staff, and great emergency responders that are helping us mitigate this virus. And they're doing a great job, and the state has recognized that. And so on this page, you'll see the website, gogettested.com. Now, obviously, we've been doing this for 3 or 4 weeks already. I believe the last 2 dates that are for the month of August are going to be August 17th and 18th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And then there is a phone number that you will call 48 to 72 hours after you've had your test. Now, we've got the First Baptist Church near Showbiz Cinema and Waxahachie Sports Complex. So that's the location where they're doing the testing if you do feel like you have a need to have the test. And then to call for test results is the 877-837-8461. So we're thankful for the Department of Health and State and Health Services for allowing us to participate in that mobile testing program. Moving on, this year, as far as one of the jobs as county judge is building the budget for the entire county. I am, as county judge, the chief budget officer. I'm also the emergency management director. There's a few titles that come with this job that whether you want them or not, you've got them. And certainly between now and an epidemic, I've learned the emergency management title greatly this year because as mayor, we never had anything like this happen with the exception of Katrina. And that was where we were putting a few people in shelters for a few days. But this epidemic with COVID's been a new emergency management battle, something to learn for all of us. So as it relates to building the budget, let's read the line here. This current budget will raise more total property taxes than last year's budget by $5,181,000. That's 8.47%. If the more than last year, if the commissioners agree to that budget, that is the starting point, and obviously we can reduce that, but that all kind of depends on what initiatives they want to implement into the budget. That is $3.5 million in tax revenue to be raised from new property added to the tax roll this year. So this is the first year where you have House Bill 2 in effect. So as of October 1 for city and county governments, House Bill 2 goes into effect. There are two rates that are important in this rule. One of them is called the no new revenue rate. The no new revenue rate is last year's revenue plus new construction. So you will see new construction, then you have whatever that baseline is, you can increase that number by 3.5% more than what your last year total revenue rate was. We are limited this year to going above that 3.5%. However, there is a case out there that is under kind of the Supreme Court right now, because during a disaster declaration, during the Hurricane Harvey, they allowed the counties around the Gulf area to increase that rate above the 3.5% back to the old rollback rate of 8% more than the year before. So that's 1.08. So the jury is still out as to whether counties and cities could increase their budgets by 8% rollback or 3.5 cents rollback because we are in the disaster declaration. I'm committed here in Ellis County as your judge to the state regulations, and that is the 3.5% rule number. So that's what we have filed, the proposed budget. That's what we are working on. And our budget will go effective October 1. We plan to set the tax rate on September 8th. And that involves a lot of things kicking off at that point, new programs and things that go forward as it relates to purchasing 15 new Sheriff's Department vehicles, continuing our Ellis County Sheriff's step pay program. We are continuing to fund the increases from last year's budget, such as the implementation of new staff into the County Court at Law number 3, the new courtroom. That will be our third County Court at Law court that opens up January 1. And that is why you saw a judge on the ballot last March. And that ended up, the Republican nominee is Judge Joe Gallo. So he will fill that courtroom in January. And right now we are not able to have jury trials until the end, at least the beginning of October. Most likely that's going to probably be extended through the end of the year. And as soon as the juries get back and operating, there's going to be a docket full. There's going to be a full docket for jury trials. Let's move on. We will continue to implement the Juvenile Justice Alternative Education Program as one of our capital improvements. We are working with 9 school districts across the county. A lot of people don't know what that means, a juvenile justice alternative education, but what that does for school districts is that removes what we call mandatory expulsions. So those kids that might have committed a felony, either in or out of school, they would be removed from the classroom with the other kids, placed into a juvenile justice alternative education program, and the county does the administration on that program. So it's literally a curriculum, just like if you were in a regular school system, but it is a curriculum that is designed specifically to take those kids out of the classroom, put them in an area where they have much greater supervision, and still give them a chance to excel and earn that GED before they get out of high school. You see on the left side of the screen here, incoming business. We've got lots of good things on the rise from an economic development standpoint. One of those things that's a success story is the Fresh Pet Inc. manufacturing plant that is getting ready to break ground in September in the Ennis community, in the Ennis Industrial Park. They are going to invest $300 million. That will be their second manufacturing plant, and they have right now 400 employees slated to begin work after that project is complete. So that's good news for the city of Ennis. We did go to the governor's office and the lieutenant governor's office to seek part of the Texas Enterprise Fund money to help them build that plant and relocate those employees. That is the second of what they say will be 3 manufacturing plants across the nation. So they have one in New Jersey. They will have the second one here in Ellis County, and the third one will be somewhere out west as they continue to reach that capacity. So it just is a testament to how well we are positioned as a county to have someone like Fresh Pet look at us as their second option for their second manufacturing plant. Another success story is the recent groundbreaking of the Compass Data Center in Red Oak. And as you're aware, in Midlothian, guys, you've got a Google plant that is currently well under construction. They've added hundreds of millions of dollars in the Midlothian area this year to that Google plant. And right on the heels of that is the Compass Data Center in Red Oak that will add over $1 billion of investment there with 50 employees. Something else that is very evident that rail port is really doing a lot for us on the west side of the county and the Midlothian Business Park. And my understanding is we've got a new prospect that's looking at Midlothian. It is Earth Root Holdings LLC, and the public notices have already gone out on those tax abatements. And I believe here at the Commissioner's Court, we will hear that case on the 22nd of August, I believe, and then make a decision somewhere around the 4th of September. That is a $56 million investment in the Midlothian Business Park, right down there on the north side of 287, I'm sorry, of 67. And we're looking forward to that project as well. You know, as it relates to Ellis County Commissioner's Court, we want to continue to be good partners with our communities, our cities, and our school districts. And our job is to walk with you in that prospect as you decide that you want a business owner or a relocation to come into your city and do a specific thing. We want to partner with you and provide the necessary incentives that we can, that the law allows as a county government. You know, some people don't believe in corporate, what they call corporate entitlements, but believe me, in no way is this a corporate entitlement. It is strictly a reward for them spending hundreds of millions of dollars in Ellis County. And here's the issue. I'm with every taxpayer because I am a taxpayer. I completely agree that tax abatements are controversial. But when you look at the fact that Johnson County sits next door and Kaufman County sits next door, and Dallas County is above us to the north, we are in competition with some very strong candidates. In some cases, the reason that we are a prospect for that new business is, number one, is your investment in your community, into your infrastructure and your quality of life, and somewhat our low taxes here in Ellis County, because we've done a good job. We do not have a community college district like Dallas County. We do not have a DART rail system. And those are added taxes that any business will have to pay when they come in and relocate to a community. So we're in a real strategic location to provide investment dollars to incentivize a business to relocate employees and build large facilities with our open land and our affordable land and our quality workforce that we have here in Ellis County. So that's our job as a county government, is to be your partner in continuing to assist you in the growth of your city. Let's go back to the next slide. That next slide is going to be about education. One of the things as emergency management director that is very important to me is that we get our economic recovery, our education back on board. As you know, when kids can't go to school, there are things that they look at doing that might not be something that's positive for us. And I think that when you look at kids going to school and being social, getting in there and learning with their teachers and their classmates, it's very important that they do that. So our goal is to provide a partnership with the districts to allow them to continue to reopen their schools safely. As you are aware, Midlothian has done a great job. The Midlothian ISD has done one of the best jobs at giving a plan to you as citizens and businesses as to reopening their school districts safely. All districts in the state of Texas are being guided by the Texas Education Agency guidelines, which allow for any student to decide whether they want to do at-home schooling or go into the classroom at the actual school district. That is available. My understanding is each district makes the decision as to how they're going to implement that. And they've got guidelines, but we want to make sure that we don't do anything to harm the ability of our districts to make the right decision for their constituents. And so me as county judge, I've sort of taken a little bit lesser role in that by the interest of managing your personal liberties while also trying to manage the public health. And as you know, Ellis County does not have a public health department, so our local health official is the one that guides us in the public health here in Ellis County. So we want to do everything we can and give all the resources we can to our superintendents, to our school boards, so they can reopen their school successfully come the 17th, the 18th, the 20th, or if it's the day after Labor Day. So we've been in partnership with our districts, and we do have some rules and some guidelines if we do have some outbreaks in districts as school reopens. I highly suspect there to be some spread, but if we will just abide by the guidelines and do it safely, I think that we can all get through this, and we can open school as we all know that we need to going forward. So let's look into the future a little bit. Just to reiterate, we want to unite with our community, our city, and our school districts for a common vision or a project as it relates to economic development. Some of our definitions are our number one goal is to create higher income and higher tech jobs for Ellis County, because I believe that high tech and high income go together, whether that be aerospace, whether that be data center and processing, whether that be manufacturing of vitamins and minerals and foods. And our second goal, I believe, would be to eliminate and replace poverty with prosperity. And to continue our third and final goal for economic development, continue to increase the perception of value in Ellis County, whether that be quality of life, whether that be a qualified, educated workforce, whether that be high tech and high income. Our job as a commissioner's court is to continue to increase the perception in Ellis County where we become one of the choice positions for a new business to relocate. I want to make sure I get this in for our tech guys. Please follow your county government on social media. On a Facebook page, we have the @EllisCountyTX. If you're searching for it, I usually search for Ellis County, Texas government page. And then we also have a Twitter page that is @EllisCounty_Texas. I also do a lot of things on my personal county judge Facebook page. It's literally Ellis County Judge Todd Little. And then my Twitter page, which I do have a county judge page for that. My profile there is The Judge Little. It's @TheJudge Little. So Laura, I hope I haven't gone too long. It's about 10 after 2. I wanted to kind of wrap it up, and I think we have some Q&A. Is that correct?
That's correct. If anyone has any questions, I don't see any questions in the chat, but please submit those to the judge at this time. Judge, can you reiterate again, because this is our legislative series, what are your priorities for the legislative? What are you going to tell Jake Elsie and our congressman and our state senator that they need to be prioritizing come the spring?
Excellent question, Laura. One of the things that is probably the top of my list is some type of appraisal reform as it relates to the value of our properties. You know, when we looked at this slideshow in the very beginning, we talked about our revenues, and our revenues are actually going up to the tune of, to the tune of, I believe it was 8%. It was 8.47%. And that is a lot of new added value. The problem is that we don't have a lot of accountability in that system currently. And I know the legislature is very interested in appraisal reform. Do we move to a sales tax process or a consumption tax over time? Do we stay 100% with a property tax format? And if we do that, appraisals are going, what we call appraisal creep is going to continue to be a tough thing for a county like Ellis County, because it can literally drive someone out of their home. We can't lower the tax low enough when your house goes from $250,000 to $500,000, because your appraised value is what the tax is generated on. And that's a big deal if your home has increased over the last 10 years in like 100%. It makes it unsustainable. So those are that's number one. Another thing that had just popped up yesterday that some people in the county have been getting notice of is that one of our waste management vendors, Roach Waste Management, discontinued operations yesterday. So we have hundreds, if not thousands of people in Ellis County that had Roach as their waste management company. But as a county government, unlike a city, we cannot name preferred vendors in the trash collection business. So one of those things that we all have to have is we have to have the ability to get rid of our garbage. And I've had multiple emails and calls in the last day. Judge, did you hear about Waste Management closing their doors yesterday morning? Well, I'm hearing about it now because here we've got hundreds of people that don't have trash collection as of today. So I think that school finance, Laura, when you look at the reduction in oil and gas taxes that are happening as it relates to this economic downturn, I think the question is going to be, do we dip into the rainy day fund? Where do we get additional funding? You know, the governor's already been asking for budget cuts in the middle of the biennium budget. I actually had a question from somebody a month or two ago. Judge, since the state is on a biennium budget, would you advocate for a county to be on a biennial budget? Well, I can say now, after going through COVID, the biennial budget would not be a friend to county government, because we would see reducing revenues and still have our budgets set at certain levels. It's tough to go back and ask people for that money after that budget has already gone in place. So I would advocate that cities and counties stay on that annual budget, and as well as school districts. But those are some of the hot items. And another item that I think, Laura, that comes into play as a county judge is my emergency management responsibility. I do believe that when a county judge or a governor goes into a disaster declaration, the county judge has a 7-day limitation. The governor's orders do not have a limitation. So I would favor the legislature talking about where in the disaster situation where the legislature would be required to come back and support or either continue or discontinue a governor's order after a 30-day period. So you have that executive authority for a temporary period of time. But for it to last 3, 4, 5, or 6 months, I think it would be adequate for the legislature to come along behind the governor and support the governor's disaster declaration as a body, as a political body. So those are a couple of things that I would say would be important.
What would you say have been your most valuable lessons you learned from the COVID emergency that you think next time we'll be better prepared with this? Is it an office? Is it a department? Is it a emergency fund? What would you say would make us better prepared next time there's a crisis?
Well, that's a good question, and I think I'll answer that broadly. Luckily, last year when we did the budget, I had a fund that was named emergency contingencies. And for the first time in years, as a county government, we put $300,000 in that class category. So that actually assisted us. We didn't even know we needed it, Laura, back in October of last year. But as soon as COVID arrived, we suddenly were buying masks for our employees. We were buying test kits. We had people going out on leave because they were exposed to someone with the virus. I do believe that I like the local health official, the way we have it. I don't know that the public health department and private healthcare will ever see eye to eye on anything. As far as they will see eye to eye on some of the medical terminology, but as far as how they administer public health versus private health, it's almost like the rights of an individual as opposed to the rights of a group. Those two will never meet in the middle. It's like two opposite ends of the spectrum. It's like communism and free market. Public health versus private health. I believe that the doctor should always have the ability to work with their patient directly. I believe that there are situations, I think one of the things that I've learned is no matter what decisions in an epidemic, or whether it's an epidemic or a pandemic, there are some situations where regardless of the decisions that are made, the executive will always, you just can't make everybody happy. There are always times where someone's going to disagree with your decision. And I like making people happy, Laura. I like giving people what they want. And as a county judge, I represent you as citizens, but in some cases, we're put into a position of authority where we have to make tough decisions. And I think the one thing that I would have really appreciated if we would have had it better is a prayer network, an Ellis County prayer network, to give us superintendents, city council members, mayors, county judges, emergency management. If we had more prayer to make that wise decision, Laura, that's what we need, is a prayer network in Ellis County.
Well, always we can use more prayer, can't we? That is
Amen.
Really good advice. I didn't face anywhere near the types of decisions that you did, but I understand that executive dilemma because, as you know, we had a major festival that was supposed to happen in April, and then it got moved to June, and then ultimately, as July 11th was approaching when that was supposed to happen again, we were having discussions among ourselves at the staff level, with the board, with our committee, and a board member really basically said, is it worth one life for us to go forward with the Wine and Arts Festival? And two little voices, one on either side of my shoulder, said, no, it's not worth even one life to go forward with the festival. And the other voice on my shoulder said, but that person could die in a car accident on their way to the grocery store, or on their way to the festival, and it has nothing to do with COVID. Ultimately,
Right.
Of course, we canceled because we didn't want there to be any risk that we were bringing in outsiders from people in other communities into our community to have that event. But for that reason, I guess I felt like if we've got it, we'll share it with each other, but let's don't bring it in. So that just goes into your decision making. So
Laura, I think one of the other things that now that you mentioned a few things like that come into my mind is, had we have known that the pandemic was coming, I think it's going to be important for us as a community to think about the over efficiency of our supply chain. I think that just having enough on the shelf to give us groceries for the next couple of days, if we would have known the pandemic was coming, we didn't know we needed 6 months of toilet paper on the shelves or in the warehouse. We didn't know that we needed Kleenexes. We didn't know that we needed hand sanitizer. And if it cost us 2 or 3% more as a society, I think that we need in Ellis County, we need people that are interested, investors that are interested in building warehouses out in the county, whether they're 20,000 square feet or 40,000 square feet or 60,000 square feet. We need a place where we can store, where we can literally store certain things, like God forbid, beef ever become short supply. But it almost came short supply in the entire nation because the beef, the processing plants were getting hammered with their workers with COVID. So they were having to put cows down that were ready to go to processing, but they could not be processed because the employees were getting sick in the pandemic. Now that delayed our beef somewhere between 2 weeks and 4 weeks. I think we need to think about, are we willing to pay for in our products? Are we willing to pay a little bit of a premium to have certain products available, like surgical masks, or like our nursing homes have had a very tough time getting gowns for their medical assistants, because gowns, there was a fast run on gowns from every hospital in the nation. The nursing homes couldn't get gowns. There were other things like face shields that were difficult to get. And those are the kinds of things that I know Baylor Hospital in Dallas has a warehouse in Deep Ellum with millions of masks if they need them. So they were ready for it because that's what they think about in their regular day planning. But as citizens and as cities and counties and governments and grocery stores, we've never thought about needing that supply chain. So we need to make sure we have that storage for the next epidemic. And Laura, I would turn it around to you and ask your constituency there at the chamber. I'd like to know, as county judge and commissioner's court, how can we continue to help Midlothian chamber members or Midlothian city or community? What can we do better and how can we help?
yes, I think that we can survey our members and gather data. Why don't you and the other 3 chambers and I all get together like we did in July and figure out what information the county might need from our members and the businesses, and let's make sure that we are prepared. I have been not hoarding, but I've just been putting aside some of those supplies that you
Right.
mentioned, because if the COVID and flu come this winter, we'll probably have shortages again. Make sure you've got storages in your freezer and canned food in your pantry. So those are just, let's talk basic survival
That's right.
products, I guess you could say, as well as hygiene things that you might not normally think of, like sanitizer and wipes and so forth. So I did get one question via chat, and that is, this is from Trevor. He says, thank you, Judge Little, for your work in Ellis County for becoming a sanctuary for the unborn. After seeing liberal politicians push to keep people out of churches and threatening to take our guns, would you consider taking action to make Ellis County a sanctuary also for religious freedom and a sanctuary for the Second Amendment? That was from Trevor.
Trevor, I appreciate your question. One of the things that we did in 2019 was we did pass a resolution to become a sanctuary for the Second Amendment, your right to bear and keep arms. That has been done already. I've got the resolution on my wall in there in my office, and Commissioners Court voted 5-0 to make Ellis County a sanctuary for the Second Amendment. I think that we would absolutely be interested in doing that for religious liberties. That is not a problem at all. I don't think that we have ever felt that we have not had a problem with religious liberties until COVID came up. So I think that's a great question and possibly a great resolution for us to look into. And I appreciate you bringing that to our attention.
All right, I got one more question for you from Ross. He says, what is your office doing to support the modernization of our county government? For example, e-recording in our county clerk. If we want to become a high-tech county and recruit those companies, then we need to update many of our services to be less hidebound. What are your thoughts to Ross?
Ross, very good question. And we have worked with the county clerk this year, and we have begun researching already the electronic processes for doing exactly what you've discussed. I know that Crystal has implemented a few things that are no cost to the county. One of those is the e-property alert system, where you can log on to the website and put your address in. And there's been a lot of fraud in county records and lots of fraudulently filed deeds and things. And that's one of the things that fraud alert system will do, is you can register your name and your email address. And let's just say that if I were to file something on your piece of property and it gets recorded in the county records, it makes it a challenge when you come to close on that piece of property and someone else's name is listed as the owner. It's a major deal to prove up that you actually were the original owner of that land. So that's one of the reasons we did the property fraud alert system. And we do have a court records, a county clerk technology fund that we are looking at moving in the direction of the online processing. And that is a very large ticket item, but we do have funds dedicated for that. And we are kind of waiting on our existing contract from our existing supplier to expire in 2021 before we can move all the way to completion. But that is in the plan already, Ross.
Very good. All right, Stephen is an attorney. He asked, and I think you touched on this, but I can't remember the details. What are the plans regarding starting back to jury trials? I know they're paused for now. When do you think they'll go back?
We are under the guidance of the Texas Supreme Court as it relates to jury trials. That also is supervised by the Office of Court Administration. And at this time, they have extended those, they are prohibiting jury trials through October 31 currently. But my thoughts is if you're really looking forward, they've extended it now twice, if not 3 times. And that included the suspension of evictions. And that means that the JPs are not holding jury trials. The county court of laws are not holding jury trials. We're not even having grand juries meet to decide whether or not there should be indictments filed on perpetrators. So that is something we have to get approval from. The presiding judge of the local region is involved in that decision, as well as the local administrative district judge. And we're working hard to see how we can host jury trials here in Ellis County by implementing some of the guidelines that we're required to implement to protect the jury's safety, because it takes 200 or 300 people to fill juries on 5 or 6 courts. So we can't throw 200 or 300 people in a room and select from 12 jurors from that pool in the current situation with the distancing requirements. We just don't have the size in those rooms for that crowd. So we're definitely looking into that. I think there's been 2 jury trials since like January, 2 that have been approved by the Supreme Court all over the state of Texas in 254 counties.
Wow.
So I suspect that it will be after the 1st of January before we're allowed to have any jury trials. That's what I'm seeing.
Okay. Raymond has asked, what's the current situation with the Red Oak versus Rocket Water District? He's not sure that Google or Compass can proceed without the state judge's decision. What are your thoughts on that?
That is a situation that is a water rights issue. And my understanding is the controversy is whether or not Rocket can supply the water to the Google site in Red Oak. And I do believe that is under lock and key right now, because there is a court case. And that state district judge, I believe, I'm not sure, I believe that state district judge is in election right now. I'm not sure, I haven't verified this, but it might be that she or he is running for some court of appeals or some Supreme Court position, and maybe that has delayed the outcome of that trial at this point. But as soon as I find that out, and if hopefully it comes in the favor of the best situation for the county, because we want that $2 billion, we want that second data center of Google to build here in Ellis County.
Yep, that's for sure. Very good. All right, we are at an hour, so I'm going to wrap up. Judge Ellis, great job. Thank you very, very much. You covered a lot of ground, and if anybody has any additional questions, send those to me here at the chamber, and we'll forward those on to the judge and get an answer for you. Judge Ellis, we really appreciate your participating in our series. We're so thankful that you're working on behalf of the residents of Ellis County and the businesses as well. I want to thank again our series sponsors. They are First Financial Bank, Linebarger Law Firm, Access Self-Storage, and Wholesome. Our corporate sponsors are Baylor Scott & White, Waxahachie, Omega Software, and Atmos Energy. We do have 2 other webinars in our legislative series. Coming up next week is Congressman Ron Wright, Thursday the 20th at 11:30. And then the following Thursday, August 27th, is State Representative John Ray and candidate Jake Elsey. That's Thursday the 27th at 11. If you want to read our weekly e-blast and check our calendar, you'll see all of our other upcoming events. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you online next time.